Hi guys, I'm Mama Modoni or Wangeshi Kihara. I'm a certified lactation consultant as well as a certified child nutrition practitioner. I run an organization called the Mothership Village. You can find us on Instagram at the Mothership Village. What we do at the Mothership Village is to support you and your family in case you're having an issue or in case you just want to learn. So we do childbirth education classes, we do prenatal breastfeeding classes, we do Lamaze classes, we support you through the postpartum period. We have a 3-month program. We have so many different ways that we can support you. Is your baby fast? Is your baby refusing to eat? etc, etc. So make sure you check us out at the Mothership Village. In case you're not following me on Instagram, at Mama Modoni KE, make sure you come there. We have different conversations on motherhood, wifehood, womanhood, just fun stuff. So make sure you join me there at Mama Modoni KE. On today's video, I'm doing something that I found to be very popular on my Instagram in January. That is batch cooking. That's the first time I tried it as an adult. I used to do it when I was in uni. And I loved it. I loved the fact that my kids could eat my food every day. I also loved the fact that on the month of January when I didn't have a nanny, I didn't have to cook from scratch every single day. So, in today's video, we're going to be cooking for a week and a half. I have a menu that I have already prepared for the week and a half. So, we'll be making beans, which is going to be eaten with rice, chapati, ndengu. That's my daughter's favorite meal, actually, chapati and ndengu. So, like next week, we'll be eating chapati and chicken, but I'm still going to make a bit of ndengu for that day. Spaghetti and mincemeat. I'm going to make 2 batches of mincemeat. One to be eaten with spaghetti, another one to be eaten with rice. Fish fingers I made in my January batch, and they are the best fish fingers I've actually ever had. I'm never buying fish fingers again. Ugali pork, so I'm going to be making the pork. So two batches of ndengu, 2 batches of beans. And yeah, so last time I took about 12 hours to cook, although I cooked a lot of food. I think I really didn't think through the day. I made about 40 dishes for 40 different days, and I also still made, I think, about 15 breakfasts. This I'm hoping to be quick. It's 1:37. I'm hoping to be done by 2:30. Making the different dishes. What I've done differently this time that I didn't do that time. One, for the beans, I've pre-boiled them. The other time I didn't pre-boil them. I've also thawed all the meat that I'm going to be cooking today. The only thing that's not here is pork, but it's on the way and it's also going to be thawed. I've already done the coconut milk. I use homemade coconut milk. I have a reel on that on my Instagram page at Mama Modoni KE. The onions have already been peeled. Is that the word? Tomatoes have been cleaned. I'm going to be using my food processor to chop everything up, and I'm not making any starches today. So I'm hoping an hour and a half or 2 hours should be sufficient. So join me. Okay, so we're just going to start by prepping all the onions and tomatoes and ginger and garlic. If you don't have a food processor, you can have your domestic manager help you out with this so that the process is a lot faster. I really love this machine. It actually chops almost everything, including cabbage and what's it called? Sukuma wiki. Imagine that. I spent a lot of time, but I don't know. I think I've just been zungukaing in this kitchen. It is now 2:20. My kids get home at 3 o'clock. I don't know how much I'll have filmed. I don't know how much I'll have achieved by the time they get home. But it's really important for me to have gotten a lot done before they get here because it becomes chaotic. Anyway, first dish, kuku kienyeji. I'm basically boiling it and then it's going to fry in its own fat. So I'm going to start with the chicken and then I'll put some ginger and garlic. So I'll just put what is here. I've added just a bit of water, like I would say maybe half a cup. Then the reason I put the salt before it cooks is because I want the meat to be tasty. The thing about salt, if you want your stew to be tasty, so like if you're making a beef stew or a chicken stew, you add the salt later so that the beef or the chicken or whatever meat you're cooking removes the flavor. If you want your nyama to be tasty, then you add the salt early so that now all the flavor is retained into the meat. So that's why I've added the salt early. I hope you've gotten that point. I won't add too much of the water because the meat itself will have water. Yeah. So then from here, I'm going to be making some ndengu. The ndengu is a lot. We're going to be having ndengu for dinner today and then for 2 other times. Then here I think I'm going to make the minced meat for 2 times. So I'll just start with onions. I I love onions, so you always don't have to add as much as I've added. I'm just a big fan of onions. Remember, most of the food that I'm cooking here today, you can actually give your baby from the time they're 6 months. The only thing you need to avoid is salt. And then if any food I've added, like Royco cube or Nor cube, don't add that if your baby is below 1. And then after they turn 1, you just need to measure how much, because they have salt already. So you need to measure how much salt you put into the food. So onions, some oil. Then I'll let that cook, and then we continue. Okay, so to this I'm just going to add some dhania stalks, and then some garlic. This is garlic ginger paste. So I know a lot of people keep talking about how, oh, I don't eat spices, oh, like it's such a good thing, oh, may I never cook with spices, blah, blah, blah. Spices are so good for you guys. You actually just need to open Google and search, for example, benefits of turmeric. Turmeric actually helps with your tummy. Turmeric is a natural antibiotic. It can help with your skin. Like, majority of spices have so many benefits, just not only to you, but also to your kids. And to this, I'm going to add the tomato puree that we had already made. Gosh, at this point I'm just cooking with my eyes. When I do the shorter recipes, that's when I'm able to do a better job with measuring. So I'm going to put tomatoes, and then I might put a bit of tomato paste, and then because of the acidity of the tomatoes, I'll add maybe a teaspoon of sugar so it can cut the acidity. So to this I'm going to add some tomato paste. So I'll let that cook until it starts removing fat from the side. Like the oil starts separating. I'll show you guys later. So here I'm going to cook the camembert. This is the camembert. So I'll show you. So I'm putting the onions, dhania stalks, ginger, garlic. Then I'll show you guys once I put the hoho. We'll be back here once we put the hoho. Okay. Then now to this we add the dengu. I don't know why I'm suspecting I don't have enough tomatoes in there, but let's see. So this should be dengu enough for 3 meals today and 2 more times. I'm really trying to reduce my salt intake and therefore the intake of the whole family. So I might not put a lot, but I'll decide at the end of the meal if I'll add a bit more. So we are now doing the minced meat. I added some dhania stalks to the onions. Then I'm just going to add some ginger garlic paste. Cook that for a bit. And then I'll add in the minced meat. With the minced meat, if you'd like, or if your kids are not big fans of veggies, you can grate like courgettes into it. You can grate carrots. Even the dengus, you can grate carrots into it. My kids generally don't have issues with eating vegetables, so I generally don't hide vegetables. Then to this, I just want it to heat through a bit, and then I'll add the coconut. Okay. Okay, so once you put the minced meat in, you have to keep pounding it so that it doesn't form balls or form lumps. Remember, if you want your meat to be tasty, salt needs to be added early. If you want your stew to be tasty, then you add the salt later. I think I want to put some Royco cube into that, so I'll put just very little salt. And it's just because I thought about it as I was putting it. Otherwise, you put the Royco cube or your beef stock cube, and then after that you add salt if you need to. So
what is this now?
My children are home. You guys remember I was telling you how I needed to do as much as I can before they get home. Anyway, minced meat, it has removed its own water. So to this, I'm going to add some tomatoes.
Can you see inside?
Then,
I will going to put egg inside.
wow. Wow. You can hear my son. Okay. the tomatoes there are not enough, I'll add some tomato paste, either that or you can actually add more tomatoes, but just a bit. Okay, so I'm adding hohos. It's a bit late, but I'll still add them. I won't add many because it's late, so just a bit of flavor. Usually I add the hohos with the onions, but even now it's still fine. So now I'll just let it cook for a bit longer than I normally would. Then to this I'm going to add a Royco cube and some water to add. So in the video where I was making coconut milk, I showed you about the light one and the heavy one. So this is the light one. Chakula ilikuwa karibu kuungua. Add a bit more because I don't want to add any water. If I had some stock, I would have actually used stock. If you're able to, that's what I should have done. I should have boiled this chicken and got the stock out of it and added to that. It gives it such an amazing flavor. So I'll let this boil for around 5 minutes and then it's cooked. So I'm going to add some garam masala though. Yeah, that's it. Then now we go to the next dish, the chicken. I'm going to add some hoho and some onions to this. Some onions. And that is not enough for me. I love my food with a lot of onions. The reason why I was telling you guys I needed to shoot as much as possible before the kids come, you can hear everyone now is talking. So I'll cook this for a few minutes until the onions start to caramelize, and then I'll add just a bit of tomatoes, not much. And then after that it's actually ready. So now I'm just adding a bit of soup. So that when they eat it with, they're eating it with chicken, so I'll actually put a bit of soup, not just a kasurwa to that. Yeah. So let's go to the next dish. Okay, so now this is ready. To this I'm going to add some garam masala. Garam masala is a spice that is added at the end of cooking. You don't add this at the beginning of cooking because the aroma of it needs to be added at the end. In fact, come to think of it, I should likely add this the day that I'm actually reheating the food. Then I'll add some dhania. So this is a heavy cream. Yeah, and we're done. So then I'm just going to cover this, and the dhania is going to soften or cook with the mvuke. What's that in English? Like the steam of it. Yeah, and that's it. That's the go for 3 times. So guys, this is what I meant by oil separating from the tomatoes. You can see. So at this point is where you know it's time to move on to the next step after. I feel like my voice is soft after the tomatoes. Okay, so for this I'm going to use curry powder and Royco cube. So remember I said you remove the spice, you put it on the cup, don't put it directly. So curry powder and a beef cube. So because I've used the beef cube, I'm not going to put salt until later. Then I'll let that cook for 2 minutes. Then I add in the kamande. This is what kamande is, okay guys. I don't know what the name of this thing is in English or even in Kiswahili. Okay, because I've added the beef cube and I don't have stock, I'm going to add just a bit of water. But if you have beef stock or chicken stock, it's much better than the water. So I'm just going to add a bit of that because I've added the beef cube, it will help. Then I'm going to add the kamande. So I'm just going to cook enough for 2 times. Oopsie. I didn't add any sugar to these tomatoes because I didn't put as many, and I also didn't put any tomato paste. So I didn't put sugar in it. But once I taste it later, if I feel that it needs a bit of sugar, I will put like less than a tablespoon. So I've just added some curry powder. I've tasted it for flavor. I felt it needed more curry powder. And then I've added some salt. Remember when you're adding the beef cube, you taste for salt later. So I'm just going to mix that up. And then I'll add the coconut milk, the lighter one. I like my beans with coconut, but if you don't like coconut, you can actually just put more tomatoes. Anyway, let me tell. I'll do another video with the one that doesn't have tomatoes, with one that doesn't have coconut. So guys, I'm adding another Royco cube because I've remembered this is food for 2 times. Then water, then some dhania. So because of the copious amount of water I have put, being the Kikuyu that I am, but then for some reason my kids like mince meat that looks like this. I don't like it, but yeah. I definitely have to add some salt to that. And I will likely finish off with some garam masala. If you're not putting a lot of soup into it, you don't have to put the garam masala. Just help with a bit of the flavor. Kelele, mama. Okay, so now we move to the chicken. So with the chicken, I usually like it when the onions start to look like this. And guys, at this point, if you just add chili and have this with ugali, perfection. But because we're not having this with ugali, now we're going to add some tomatoes. And then because I do not have stock, I'm going to add some cube. I'll add a beef chili cube. I hope I have. I'll add a beef chili cube with some water, and then I'll let that cook. And so that it doesn't overcook, I'm going to remove that very, very soon. Then now, I'm going to now move to the last jiko here. And now here, I'm going to put in the pork. With pork, what I usually do, I start with the fatty bits. I let that render. Render means mafuta itoke. Then I continue cooking. So I wait for it to be a bit hot. Then now these parts that are a bit fatty. And I find that fattier pork makes better fry. I know there are people who really don't like fatty pork, but for me, if my pork is for frying, it has to be fatty. But basically, pork without fat is really not tasty because it tends to be quite dry. Yeah, so let's wait for that to be a bit hot. Yeah. That is cooked. I'm going to put some dhania. But before you put the dhania, ensure that you taste it for, like, to ensure that the flavors have balanced the way you want them to balance. Then you might want to add some salt. You might want to add some what is it? Any spice that you want. So you put the dhania, mix it, and then the heavy coconut milk. See? Yeah, and that's it. And it's already off. I'm actually going to switch it off completely so it doesn't even keep warm. Yeah, and that's it. I'll wait for it to cool and pack it. This is enough for 2 times. So, this is ready. I just need to add in some dhania. Where is the dhania? Wait, I'll give you. I remember that we're going to serve this with some dengu. So the dengu is going to be what is going to be more stewy. This doesn't need to be as stewy or as watery as I had originally thought. Yeah, and then that's it. I don't know if I need to put some garam masala. Let me just taste. Nope, perfect. Salt, dhania, ho-ho, perfection. That's it. The last dish is the chicken strips. That's going to be served with potatoes. I got this already cut up from the butchery. I'm just going to dry it and then flavor it or season it. Actually, that's the word, season it. I'm not even sure what I'm seasoning it with yet. I'll just check my pantry and then decide. So you dry it so that it doesn't stew. I don't want it to stew in the. You can hear my son playing in the background. I don't want it to stew in the hot pan. So I'm going to use a steak and chop spice. And this is because I'm in a hurry and I really don't want to think about all the flavors. PC, please stop. I don't want to think about all the flavors that are going to go into this. Yeah, so I'm just going to coat it well and then put it there. If I had thought of this earlier, I should have started with this. Then by now the flavors would have infused inside, but I did not think. So here we are. And it has a lot of salt. So cook first before you add any more salt. oil to be hot. Remember, I don't want this to stew. So for me not to stew, I have to do it when the oil is very hot. So that's the fatty bit. This is the oil. I don't know why I feel like my voice is being muffled. Anyway, that's the oil. I'm just going to drain this a bit. I might use it later, depending on how fatty the other parts are. This you can use for cooking. Very healthy, much healthier than all the oils we use. Then I'll just bring the temperature of the sufuria back up to high. Then I put this, all of this together. And then I'll add the salt, the garlic, the ginger, and the dhania things all together when I put in the meat. By the way, guys, you don't have to use the method I have used. Where the sizzling is so loud. I don't know if you can hear me. You don't have to use the method that I have used. You can put all the meat together and then render the fat on its own. It's just how I usually like to do it. But it's not something you have to do it that way. So you can just put all the meat together and then just start cooking completely. So that is dhania stock, ginger, garlic. For pork, I usually prefer using more ginger than garlic. For other dishes, I usually use more garlic than ginger. I hope I have made sense. So for pork, more ginger than garlic. For other dishes, you put more garlic. So I'm likely going to add a bit of ginger to this. And then salt. I think I've repeated 3 times today. If you want your meat to be tasty, you add the salt early. If you want your stew to be tasty, you add the salt later. Okay, so now the chicken is basically cooked. With chicken breast, you have to be very careful not to overcook it, so it still needs to be soft. So I'm going to remove that, ensuring that I drain most of the fat and leave most of the oil in the pan. Some onions. Remove the nyama that's stuck at the bottom. It makes it very tasty. I hope you just want to shout. Ginger, garlic is what I need to add into this, and some dhania. I really like dhania, whatever it is. And then to the chicken, the other thing you can add is you can add some honey if you wish. You can add some soy sauce. You can add some like black bean paste. You know those Asian sauces, sweet chili sauce. If you like sweet chili sauce, my sweet chili sauce would work so well with this recipe. I likely need to add some more oil. Okay, so I'm going to put some hoho into this. My kids hate green things in their food. They are so weird. So they don't even like dhania, but they will eat spinach, they will eat kunde, they will eat manangu, they will eat cabbage, but they do not want to see things like that dhania. They're likely to remove it. But greens on their own, they'll actually eat very well. So I won't put much there, and then I'll likely put honey or something to convince them to actually eat it. Okay, so now to this, I'm going to add back the chicken that I removed. Then I'll mix it nicely. Oh, I've just known what I'm going to do. I'm going to do honey and soy. So I need some, oh, chicken has fallen. I need some soy sauce. I'm going to put honey only, but I'll put honey and soy. So if your baby, like mine, has issues with dairy, you sometimes have to be careful with soy. I don't think I have noticed an allergy reaction with the soy, but let's see what happens. So what happens with soy, the body processes it the same way as cow milk. So sometimes people with cow milk allergy or people with lactose intolerance sometimes tend to have the same reaction. So I'm using the cucumber. I usually buy it in sachets. I think it goes for like 40 bob. It's actually my favorite soy sauce, although sometimes I buy others. I don't always buy that one, but it's one. Let me not say it's my favorite. It's one of my favorites. Then at this point, just check for flavor again. Just taste and see whether it's working for you. If not, you add more. Yeah, it's all fat. You can see. So I don't need to add back any of the fat that had been rendered before. So at this point, I'm just going to add some hoho and some onions. So the hoho. I wanted to put some tomatoes in this food, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of tomatoes in pork. I really like my pork like fried. So I might, I don't know. I'll even need some. So I'll cook this for like 3 minutes or 5 minutes and then add the onions, and then I'll have you guys back if I decide to add the tomatoes. So I've decided I'm not going to put tomatoes. For me, this is not even enough onions. My mbuzi fry, my pork fry, my cocoa fry, copious amounts of onions. So I'm just going to cook this until it's a bit soft, and then we'll be done, guys. We'll be done. Not the meat to be soft, but the onion to be just a bit cooked, and then we'll be done. Kaugali ama mokimo. Hours of cooking, if you include the prep time and the time I wasted moving around this this house, doing nothing, 4 hours. So what I made is kamande. This is for 2 meals. And then I made ndengu. The undertones are different, but they're both in coconut sauce. This is for 3 meals. Minced meat, 2 meals. Chicken strips, 1 meal. The chicken kienyeji is also 1 meal. It has kaukad a bit. So actually for everything, when it's going to be warm, so like for this, they're going to add coconut. This, they're going to add a bit of soup. I'm going to have made some soup. This, they'll also add some soup. And then there's pork. So the pork fry is hopefully for 2 times, but it looks kidogo. It's actually supposed to be 2 kg. This is supposed to be for 2 meals. Yeah, so that's that. I'm going to pack it. I've already started with the chicken. So you can pack with me. So 4 hours later, we are done. I've actually now packed all the food into the portions that I told you guys about. This is going to feed us for about 11 or 12 nights. So on the days that we're going to be eating these, they have to make the starch and the veg. Yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm not as tired as I was the first time. And the first time though, I used a chef. But the next time I do this, I'm likely going to use a chef because I want to do this for a month. Yeah. See you guys next time. Let me know in the comment section what you think about batch cooking. Do you do it? Is it something that you may consider? Like I said at the beginning of the video, I love this because I'm very busy. Like yeah. So I like that I'm able to do this on the days when I'm not home or when I'm just home and I'm tired in the evening. Especially with my waking up very early these days. I feel like by 4 p.m. I'm done. Anyway, see you guys next time, and remember, you're doing great, mama.